Hi, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in to the Power of Percentage podcast. I'm your host, R.L. Grant Sr. Hope you're having a lovely day. Um, One thing that I had mentioned in previous videos, something that I'm going to be doing quite regularly, is having these one-on-one sessions. So we are going to, be discussing a lot of different topics, all the way from, budgeting, savings, all the way to investing, the ins and outs and details of that. But I plan on having a lot of these one on one sessions just to bring up different topics that I think are still relevant and that have a very much a high level of importance because they're wrapped around finances. And this is an entire journey for me. And I appreciate you all. You like, subscribe, share the video. If you see anything that's worthwhile to you, if you get anything out of it, which is the overall goal. And for anyone who has subscribed and is following along with us on this journey, um, I'm definitely enjoying the ride so far. Still learning, still growing, but definitely enjoying it. So, one thing that I felt led to do, I wasn't going to do it today, but I felt pushed. And with this stepping out in faith, I just said, God, wherever you tell me to go, I'm going to go. And whenever you want me to do something, I'm going to do it. And I felt led to kind of speak about this today. And one thing that I want, if you are following, our content, if you are, subscriber or, just kind of coming across it in general, one thing that I stand on and always want to show is transparency. Not because I want to give out, all of my business, but I think when we go through certain struggles and we deal with certain things, our struggle, our issue, what we've gone through, it can help the next person that's dealing with the same thing. So one thing that was definitely on my heart to cover today is something called financial therapy. And I was a little unsure of how I wanted to present it, or how I wanted to cover it, but I just wanted to give you some experiences that I've gone through in my life and why I think we need to have those moments of financial therapy. Not necessarily going to someone and sitting down in a chair and then, kind of going over feelings and emotions with you, but some of the questions in the process that comes from going to therapy, I think can be very useful in looking at that from the financial aspect and how we work and deal with our finances. So, again, just very transparent with you. One thing about me that I always found a little difficult in relationships with people is knowing when to walk away. You know, I wonder how many of us deal with that, being able to let go. I had a really good friend. I had come out of a divorce and was really going through it. And he's mentioned something that stuck with me for so long, and I'll never forget it. He said that I'm praying that God gives you the gift of goodbye. So, some people I've come across and had the, the chance to meet and have encounters with, when they are done with someone in a relationship, they are able to snap their fingers and move on really, really quickly. There's no time needed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's done for them. They've moved on and they're happy in whatever they're doing next. That wasn't really my that wasn't really my particular blessing to be able to just walk away very easily. I always wanted to hold on. I had this concept in my mind. Sometimes you hear it referred to as struggle love, where you know the situation could not be the most beneficial for me. It could not be the most valuable for me. Um, but I felt like, I don't know if this will make sense to you, but this is the only way I can explain it. I felt like that struggle love, equate it to some type of value that it didn't really have. Where me sticking it in and fighting the good fight and always being in contention and always arguing to try to make things work was, for me, somehow it equated to this is real love and this is just what happens. And you're able to then, on the opposite side of all of that, say, you know what, we went through so much, we've been through so many ups and downs together. And I thought it added a level of value that was really non existent. Think about that. Has that ever happened to you in your life in dealing with people where you have that aspect of struggle love, fighting, arguing, yelling, contention, disrespect, no value given to the other person, to their opinions and their thoughts and perspectives? But for some reason, we latch onto it even more instead of letting go. And I say all that to say this. So I had come out of a relationship for a couple of years. It was a bad breakup, just being honest with you. Again, me being me, as how I've always been and struggled with. I didn't want the relationship to end. I wanted to, hold on and try to make it work and, try to push forward. And this is just going to be, something that we're going to be able to look back years ago when we made it through. Wrong perspective, but that's how I thought. So I ended up in therapy. I went to therapy. Um, One thing that I will say about therapy, I think it's very good, it's very useful, it's very helpful. I don't like the fact that therapy is kind of nowadays thrown around as like a trendy thing to do. I think that if you are at a point in your life where you are making choices and decisions that don't align with who you really are, you need to go in and see someone for a reset. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know based in, in my community, there's always been like a little bit of a stigma, with going to therapy. I was a little unsure if that's something that I wanted to do. I didn't feel like I was crazy, um, but I knew I needed to speak to someone because I needed a reset. So if you're dealing with that, if God is putting that on your heart and you've made choices and decisions that don't align with who he's called you to be and who you are, I definitely suggest that you go in and you see someone and there isn't anything wrong with it. And in a lot of cases, I thought it was this super expensive thing, but in a lot of cases, you can find multiple venues, multiple kind of directions to seek out therapy. So I just wanted to put that out there for anyone that might be struggling with that, like I was struggling with it. Now, when I went to therapy, it didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. Honestly, I thought when I went in, and I was speaking with the therapist, I thought that it would be more of, well, Mr. Grant, you did X, Y, and Z, and you did A, B, C, whatever, just going over the actions of my life, what I've been through, what I've gone through, past relationships that was in, different things that occurred, different things that I went through in those relationships. I thought it was going to be more finger pointing, just being honest with you. But the major thing that I took away from going to therapy for all of those months, we never hit on necessarily what the action was that I did or necessarily staying in a bad relationship or things that I went through in childhood, but most importantly, the question that was asked was why? Why did I stay in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in for so long? Why did I deal with stuff that was beneath me and beneath what God has called me to be? Why was I accepting of it? Why did I want to hold on to it? Not just in one case, but multiple cases. Why was I okay with this? What within me made me okay with this? And that's, I think, the true blessing of going to therapy. It's not just understanding what's taking place, but more so why it's taking place and why we allowed it to take place. And that thing hit me so hard and it's been on me all day that this is not just in regards to people in relationships, because in relationships, you have that dynamic. And like I mentioned earlier, there's a thing of struggle love, going through it. Hopefully, it comes out better on the other side, but it's a struggle in the meantime, in between time, right? But also with our finances, we can have that struggle love relationship where it seems like we're constantly on a hamster wheel. We get through one paycheck, one bill cycle, and then bam, we write in another, and we're always playing catch up. Why are we always playing catch up? Why are we constantly in that cycle of lack, constantly in that cycle of not having or being short or having to overextend ourselves? And one thing that I believe God really set in my spirit in regards to this is why, even financially, why did we make certain choices and decisions that we've made? And being honest with ourselves in regards to the answer that we give. So, true story. I was a young guy in the industry, young black guy, have this new job title, thinking I'm making a little bit of money. I go out and buy a new used car. It was a Lexus GS 300. Oh, it was smoking. It was nice. It was silver on the outside. Beautiful, beautiful vehicle. Had the navigation system, black leather seats, cherry wood interior, just wood grain in the car, just beautiful. It was amazing. Had the chrome rims on it already. Didn't even have to put that on there. So I go out. I'm Mr. Big Shot at this time in my mind. I go out and buy the car, and you know what? It was at a 24% interest rate. Let me say that again, 24% interest rate. Why would I make that type of choice? Why would I make that type of decision? And, God really put it in my spirit that we have a dynamic not just between our relationship with another person or people, but we also have a dynamic in the relationship with us in our money, in our finances. And just like in that therapy session, asking why I did certain things or why I allowed certain things, I want us to start having that question and answer session with ourselves about our finances as well. So I had to go back and really ponder on that thing And you know, sometimes when God is trying to show you something, He will really show you. And it felt like I was doing well, had a decent amount in the bank, got a good job making money. I'm driving. Nobody knows what I'm actually in, what baggage I'm handling, what I'm doing to myself. I know. And on the outside, it looks really good and amazing. On the inside, I understand the turmoil that I'm in every month. What ended up happening out of nowhere, it just seemed like I was getting hit and hit and hit with bill after bill and extra expense. I lost sight of where my money was going. I lost sight of what I was doing with my money. Just like in one of the previous videos, I kind of touched on it a little bit, and I'm definitely going to go more in depth down the road. But when you get to a point where your spending doesn't feel like you're spending, you need to reevaluate because you can easily get lost. That means you're not paying attention to the finances that you're working with. So I'm getting hit and hit by, it just seemed like it came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere, but it came from me not having a clear view of what was going on with my financial picture. So I'm struggling to pay this car note for this nice Lexus GS 300 that I bought that's shining. Oh, it's beautiful. You ride down the highway and feel like $1,000,000, but inside, I understand the internal struggle that I'm dealing with. And back to that question that I think so many of us need to start asking ourselves up front if we can before we make these decisions. But if we've already made the decision and we're ready to do something different, to have that discussion with yourself. Why did I buy that? Why would I personally enter into that type of contract that, number one, was not wise? Number two, was not at the best benefit for me for this material possession? 24% interest. And you know what my answer was? I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be looked at as an individual on an equal level with my counterparts. It was me. It was my insecurity. My insecurity caused me to sit down at a table and sign a contract that I know did not have the best value and benefit for me. But because of what I was dealing with internally, I did it. How many of us have done that? And you know what the tripped out part is that I've learned as I've gotten older and that God has really shared and dealt with me on? This, the same people that we will pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go in debt for couldn't care less about you. Isn't that something? We spend thousands of dollars going into debt to impress people that care nothing about us. And he showed me even one step further. They are happier when you lose it. They'll never tell you to your face, but they're happier when you lose whatever you bought or gain possession of that you put pride into. I quickly learned that you might get 10 people that say, oh man, what a nice car. Out of those 10, maybe one actually means it. The other nine don't care. They're not going to ride in the car. They're not going to pay for the car. They have no interest. And the sad part, but the truth of the matter is, again, a lot of the people that we make financial decisions for to impress or to act like we're on their same level, they could care less. And sadly enough, they find more happiness in when you lose the whatever purchase you've made, whatever possession you've gained, that draws more happiness from them than you actually buying it or acquiring something new. Isn't that the trip? Think about that. How much credit card debt is racked up because of that? How much have people taken out in loans because of that? The mortgage that you can barely afford because you need it to buy this type of house to prove something to someone that doesn't care about you anyway. And I got caught up in that. Now, when you make choices, you make decisions, sometimes you can go back in and correct them. Sometimes it's done and you have to work your way out of it, which is what I had to do. And there's no shame in it. And on this podcast, we're going to be walking through and teaching steps how to backtrack from some of the financial choices and decisions that we've made. But the one thing that I wanted to give someone that I think will help someone before you make that big purchase, before you enter into something that is not beneficial for you, ask yourself, just like in that therapy session, why are you doing this? And be honest with yourself. One of the main things I always say about finances, it is the greatest secret that we tell ourselves. We lie to ourselves about our own financial situations. Have that conversation. Ask yourself those questions and be honest. Because even though you've made a mistake, we all make mistakes. Things happen, life happens, sometimes because we know what we're doing, sometimes we don't know what we're doing, and we enter into things unknowingly. So, this is not about judgment or condemnation or anything like that. But one of the ways that you can truly make sure that you don't make that mistake again is by getting real with yourself on what your intent is when you are making that big purchase. When you are going out to buy that new bag, when you are going out to buy that new car or those new clothes, before you go into that credit card debt, before you go take out a payday loan, before you go get another loan from the bank, before you go sign a mortgage you know you're going to have problems paying, ask yourself, what am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? Is there an unfulfilled need in me? Is there something that I'm trying to cover up? That was what it was for me. It was like a band-aid because I wanted to feel a certain way because I'm working and dealing with people in these circles and I want to be on par. I want to be equal to them. It was prideful. And I think so many of us get caught up in that. And it ends up, in some cases, having long term effects on our life. Not that you can't recover from it, not that you can't grow from it, but until you're honest with yourself and have those types of conversations, you will continue the same pattern. And just like with the relationship, some of us have a hard time walking away from things. We need to understand why. It's no different in the dynamic with our finances. I don't want to always have struggle love in a relationship or financially. Do things come up? Yes. Do problems occur? Yes, this is life. But I want to be able to handle it in a much better way where there is no struggle. The struggle is to come up with the solution for whatever problem I'm dealing with, especially when we look at the financial aspect of it. The struggle is not me being comfortable with it and it becoming part of who I am. You get what I'm saying? It's not part of my daily life. It's not a hamster wheel. And some of us are on it. Some of us are on it and don't know how to get off. And I pray that you start having these conversations with yourself. And that's one of the things that we are definitely going to be dedicated to on this podcast, showing people how to recover from mistakes that they made, showing you how to slowly get off that hamster wheel, showing you how to go from a struggle love concept with your money and finance to having a beautiful relationship that is beneficial and valuable to you and for you. So, I just felt led to come on and share this story. If you're watching this and you're dealing with it and you don't know necessarily what to do, ask God and pray about it. We all make mistakes. And that's one thing that I love about this platform is just transparency. If I've gone through it, there's someone else going through it. And hopefully this will stop someone that is getting ready to go through it. So I appreciate you again taking some time out to join us today. I hope that you get something from this message. Again, we're going to continue to have these one-on-one sessions as God directs me. That's where I'm going to follow and do what He tells me to do. Continue along on this journey with me. Again, I hope you like, subscribe, share the video if you get something out of it. I appreciate your time today. I hope you have a great day. Bye.